Good morning. It is November 2nd, 2022. And I was discussing the Dia de los Muertos Halloween event. Today's the last day of Dia de los Muertos. And I got to say, the city played it right. They had the celebration move to the weekend and all this stuff. And this ceremony was held for those that actually wanted to do the actual ceremony. And as I can see nowadays, with everybody so busy on the highway, as a rideshare driver, I'm noticing people that less people went to the cemeteries this day than they did yesterday. And on Halloween, they celebrated Halloween. It was a Monday, so it was a light wave of trick-or-treaters and people spending their nights out last night. The city did right in holding the festival in the weekend previously before the day, because it turned out it was a great time. Everybody had fun. Everybody had a good time. And anybody and everybody that took it seriously, these ceremonial things seriously, wound up getting their prayers and for the departed, their loved departed, taken care of, and all this stuff in peace, which was great. It was absolutely great. Smart move. And as we all know, any kind of event that cities uphold and permit, it's proceeds that go to something in the city, whether it be through to an organization, or if not the city itself. But permits and stuff are still having to be paid. So again, it's just cha-ching, it's just dollar signs for our town, And San Antonio, before the pandemic, there was at least 2 festivals of some sort being done every month. If it wasn't a global national thing, it was a religious thing. If it wasn't a religious thing, it was a cultural heritage thing. This is November, so I'm expecting all the powwows to come out. Hopefully they paid all their permits and everything to our city, so that way when they make their powwows out here, they make some good change also, because it goes to some good causes there. And it's not just to Native American causes too. It's cancer awareness and all this good stuff. Every year is different, and every powwow every year is different. There's some that go to the cancer, some that goes to the children's with cancer. There's some that go to women's rights. And then there's some that actually support the Native Americans, colleges, if not Native American colleges, if not both, or all of the above. It really depends on the business. It really depends on how well business goes. Now, lately, after the pandemic and all these, price gouges and high price hikes, high inflation, and jobs with the quiet firing, forcing workers to do quiet quitting, it's just a bit of a crapshoot right now, 2 years after the pandemic started. But it's something that we can actually do. It's a small pebble to the pond kind of thing, but it's a voting thing, and it's voting for everybody and everybody that's backing up our current administration, who's upholding and doing attempts to upholding themselves and doing attempts to stop the price hikes and the corruptions and the price gouges and all this good stuff. That's what our current administration is doing, which brings me to the mid-elections again. I said I was going to come back, and I'm going to come back. The midterm elections, early voting ends Friday, I think. If this is Wednesday, yeah, Friday the 4th. And, then we got to wait till November 8th when the last of everybody else votes. And I'd like to reiterate again, please understand, if we vote for anybody and everybody, particularly everybody that's backing up the current administration, we've got a turn for the better starting this November, after the elections. And the reason, or whenever it is that they get into office, I think for midterm, low ranking, whatever, lower policy uh, politicians there in December, I think. I don't know. They could be in January of next year, but nevertheless, the transition from the current crap people that we've got to the better politicians that'll be backing up the president and the current administration. I mean, it's going to eventually show some positive results. And a lot of people are saying, how can I say that? Because of all these issues that we've got, these problems that we've got. I want to talk about some of those. I want to remind everybody what I want to talk about concerning the new stuff that's going on right now. Okay, crime. The newest thing about the crime is the Pelosi attacker. The Democrats want justice and awareness, and even some Republicans, especially after the Pelosi assault. You know, the majority of Republicans want the Pelosi attacker freed. And this is important to remember this. This is important to remember this because throughout this entire time, Republicans have been saying Democrats support violence. Democrats want killers free. Democrats want it okay. We've got one right now, you know, that assaulted a Democrat. And out of all the people to say he should be free, it's the Republicans. It's the Republicans. Instead of taking total advantage of this and saying, stop that asshole, you know, get him and all this other stuff. See, Republicans want justice served and all this stuff. They had the perfect opportunity to make themselves look like, you know, decent human beings, you know, decent human beings that's worthy of a political office. But that's not what we got. That's not what we got to see on our televisions, on the reports. What we got is, well, let's see why he did it, you know. Let's see if it was even real. Let's see if this wasn't a hoax. Let's see if that hoax wasn't a hoax or not. You know, they're making it clear that they just don't believe anything and all this stuff. Let's not make a political issue about this. You know, it was a politician's husband that got attacked. Hello. Yeah, repugs are just two-faced wahoos, you know, that from a long time ago held a strong standing of being the Republic of America. You know, that's not the case these days. Here in the second millennia, they're just these worthless douchebags. Economy. Democrats are the only ones making attempts in stabilizing the economy, and this is true. The Republicans, they're not doing a damn thing. The Inflation Reduction Act, for one, they didn't support it at all. This was all a Democrat thing, and it won by a narrow margin. If we vote in anybody and everybody to back up the current administration who's doing stuff like this and the low income home energy assistance program, you know, no Republican helped out on this. This is all under the Vice President Harris, who's running the show there. So no Republicans are backing her up. But if we was to vote anybody and everybody that's to back up this current administration, we'd see probably a whole lot more getting done. Not just in the region for low-income housing. Okay? Here's another one. The usage of the oil reserves, keeping the costs from rising any further. The cost of our gas from rising any further. Okay? Now, currently, this is all that technically the current administration can do. He did, you know, President Biden did this thing where they launched an investigation on the oil companies for hiking gas prices, saying, you know, why are you doing this? You know, I want an investigation done. Why are you jacking up prices saying, well, we don't have any to sell, so we have to raise the prices? While at the same time, the Biden administration is pulling out reserves. Okay? What they put all in reserves, it's being used. And that's the only way the prices can keep from going up to, $10 a gallon and such. The Democrats are the only ones making the attempts in stabilizing the economy. People. The Democrats are the only ones. The Republicans, they're not doing a damn thing. They're catering to the oil companies, saying, you don't like high gas prices. Yeah, well, sir, why vote for Biden then? Why did you vote for Biden? That's what they're saying. It's just idiotic. Here's another subject, though. I'm coming back to social issues, but global issues is another thing. Okay. Most of the time when we think of something concerning other countries, we're looking at immigration. And I've already stated left and right, immigration is being handled without the help of any Republicans, especially in Republican states. If we were to vote out every single Republican out of those Republican states and put somebody that's backing up the current administration, we would see order and processing being done as smooth as silk. But that's concerning other countries coming in. A country out there like in, say, North Korea, however, North Korea is sending missiles closer and closer to South Korea, the islands around, closer to Japan. They're flying around and all this other crap. And they're saying America is causing us to do this. Why? Because we've got a Navy out there. That's it. Despite the fact that our military, that even though they're doing drills and private drills on their own, they're doing it on Allied waters, or NATO waters, I don't care, or Allied waters, not anywhere near North Korea. North Korea has their own space. North Korea has their own beaches. They have their own waters. All they have to do is just stay in their zone and nobody bothers them. None of us have bothered them. None of us give a rat's ass about North Korea. We got our own South Korea here. We got our own Korea. Korea rocks. Korea's great. North Korea, who gives a shit? So for them to say America's this threat, well, no, that doesn't stand. And for all the haters out there who currently hate the current administration, who said, well, there was no problems from North Korea when Trump was in charge. That's not true. Korea was still launching missiles, but keeping it in their waters, despite the fact that it was close to the border, to the neutral zones. Okay, North Korea was still being a punk. And true, they weren't being a noticeable punk, but that's what you get. I think that's the agreement that Trump did after publicly kissing him and kissing him God knows where else behind closed doors. Sorry, I just ate and I got some cough up here. I got to take an antacid. So right now I'm just trying to keep my throat cool and my chest cool. People are saying, well, I don't recall anything happening from North Korea. Well, North Korea was still being a punk. It just wasn't being a punk that we can now take notice of now that we've got a Democrat in charge. Because when we had the Republican before him in charge, he was out kissing the leader of North Korea's, his face in public. His behind and anything else. Well, obviously that was done behind closed doors. And our American Republican president did such a good job, apparently, because like all the Republicans out there and conservatives are saying, he wasn't he wasn't doing anything when the previous president was around. I believe it. I think Trump earned it just right. I think he did a good job. I think he earned it very well. The peace talks. I think he earned the peace between them very well. I think he bent over for them, and Putin, bent over, said, no, you don't need to use the lube, I can handle it, and all this good stuff. But he's gone now. And what we got is a Democratic president that needs the backup that he needs. If we vote in anybody and everybody that backs him up, we're going to do, obviously, what we've been doing, like in the Ukraine. The Democrats are going to back up the countries, the attacked countries of their neighbor communist countries. Okay? And the repugs would just ignore them. Republican leaders right now, whatever you're a conservative or whatever right now, your political leaders, your favorite party, political party leaders are ignoring this stuff. Just like the way they did when Trump was in charge, who handled peace his way, behind closed doors. No recordings, no cameras. Oh, I'm sure there was a phone. It was done on Putin's phone, but no, as far as politically and globally, professional wise, no, it was all done behind closed doors. So I'm very much in the right in saying that Trump, brought the toys with him, brought his favorite sex toys to be used on him. I'm very in the right in saying Trump swallowed. I'm very much in the right of saying that. No cameras were allowed back there. We already saw them kissing and smooching and all this other crap. The communist leaders that are causing all this crap on a global scale. We already saw them kissing and smooching, those leaders, in public. What they did behind closed doors? Well, no cameras were allowed. So I am in 100% correct in saying, he went down on them. He went down on them in the name of peace. Which technically they didn't do. They just didn't bring it to United States. They didn't drag the United States into this. Until recently. North Korea is launching their bombs, saying they're tired of looking at America. Putin is saying secret weaponry is being used in Ukraine and it's brought in from America. We're being dragged into this. And it's obviously because there's nobody there to do sexual favors and turn tricks for them in the name of peace. Or at least in the name of looking the other way while the communist countries don't drag our name into their reasons for assaulting other countries. There's nobody here to keep them, to spank them. But they are asking for some kind of retaliation. And if we don't back up the current administration, and with anybody and everybody that'll back them up, we're not going to see backed up countries that are being attacked by these communist countries, and we're not going to see them, claiming this and that. What's going to happen is everybody here in this country is going to cause a lot of doubt, and that is going to be the chain reaction. I'm not only making the U.S. look weak, but making us the bad guys, which we're not. These communist countries are spitting and shouting and mudslinging and finger pointing and blaming everybody else for the crap that they're doing. It's just a matter of time before the world gets together and tells these assholes to quit their shit. Plain and simple. But we can't do that if we don't have the proper backup for the current leaders. So that's my standing on global issues. Normally it's under the migrations, but I've already stated throughout this entire year about what's going on with the migrations and how full of crap the Republicans are. And there's no crisis, there's no emergency, there's no invasion is what I'm trying to say. There's no invasion like they're saying. It's all being abused. The policies to handling them are being abused through illegal lawsuits. I think the IRS should be 100% legally permitted to start investigations on every single politician and every single person in his or her administration, state's administration, that is doing all of this, pulling money out of the government to fund the border security, while border security is not being funded. It's been years. It's been 2 years. And every single political leader here is claiming an emergency, is claiming a crisis. It's going all the way to saying that we're being invaded with no evidence, none. Where's that money going to? Here in Texas, it's up to $4 billion now. $4 billion, and not a damn thing has been done. We're still invaded. We're still in crisis. We're still in a border security breakage. What do you call it? I forgot what the correct term is, but it's we're still under problems with the border and all this other crap. My Texas governor has gone up to $4 billion. Where did that money go? And then to top it all off, coming up on one of my next segments, he's shifting money around from other departments and agencies, reducing money to our social issues of what we got, like child protective services and such. And I'll read the report. I'll get the report ready tomorrow. I started it last night, but I had to get some sleep. I had to go to bed, and I had to wake up for today, because I'm still working. I'm still working to make a living, kind of job. I'm not making any money off of this. I don't get contacts from YouTube. I don't, nobody's telling me, nobody's editing my stuff. I'm always having to watch my own language, and everything. I'm not getting paid. I'm just using this to voice my concerns, and there it is. I still have to work for a living. And while I'm working for a living, I'm noticing everybody that jumps into my car who's saying the exact opposite of what everybody else is running to the media saying. This is a crisis. This is an invasion. It's property damage. It's a home invasion. It's this, it's that. Crops, cattle, dogs with cats, all this other crap, And at the same time, I'm getting feedback from everybody that's coming from these border towns and everywhere else, telling me, no, that's not right. This is what's going on. And what I'm doing is relaying that message here to you. Which social issues, going right back to it, because I mentioned child protective services, they've been budget cutted again. Adoption agencies and orphan homes, budget cutted. All these money that's supposed to go to these departments here in Texas have been going to the border protection policies, and have been going to state troopers and DHS agency. And all at the same time, while Abbott, my governor, has been suing the government, so far collecting tens of millions, hundreds of millions, all the way up to $4 billion plus just in this year alone. It started from last year, but in this year, it's bumped way the hell up from 2 billion to 4 billion and change. And he's spreading the shit around to whoever it is that, I've been making that accusation, but in the upcoming report, he's actually been pulling out money out of other social issue agencies to pay for everything. So where did that $4 billion go? I don't know. This is the reason why I say, if I was in charge of the United States, I'd allow total access for IRS to make an investigation, especially on people like my governor, my Texas governor, Greg Abbott, who's $4 billion. Where is it? We're not secured at the border. There's no security there. There's no wall. There's no nothing. There's people sneaking in, being trafficked and dying, and tractor trailer trucks, who might have had carried COVID with them, and breathed out the disease on other people. Because it's not like the truck was on fire. The people were just baking in the back of that trailer truck. But that's one that didn't get away. There were others that did. We got COVID infected whatevers being trafficked in. Where's the security? You made $4 billion. You can't put $4 billion of security on the border? Come on. Back to social issues. Dems want everyone to have equal rights. The Repugs want to, if not already gotten to, get rid of them, to remove them. The upcoming issue, like abortion and all that, the upcoming social issue right now is going to be affirmative action in colleges. There's going to be a review that has to be taken place, and it's quite possible that the Republicans can vote it out of Congress or legislation. I mean, and we're going to be looking at affirmative action being removed out of colleges, and once it starts there, it's going to start everywhere else. So yeah, here's what happens if the parties win. Okay, if the Democrats win concerning crime, cops will still be cops that have to continuously fight crime. As opposed to if the Republicans win this midterm election, cops will be SS troopers creating criminals out of citizens that aren't criminals or even committing crimes through the revised Stop and Frisk program. Stop and Frisk is the initial recognized term. In some places it's called profile and pull over. Here in Texas it's called catch and jail. Okay? But it's all stop and frisk. It's all profiling, racial profiling, criminally profiling, making criminals out of citizens who are not even committing crimes. Okay? That's what it is. That's what it's like when Republicans are in charge. When Democrats are in charge, cops are just cops. And we rely on them to be that because that's all that we need them to be. Okay? We don't need them to go stormtrooping into some house party. We don't need them to go stormtrooping peaceful protests, with tear gas and everything. We don't need the cops for that. We needed the cops when there were looters, sure, but not the tear gas peaceful protesters who are out at the steps of a government building, not blocking the traffic of all the employees and stuff. Not even blocking traffic, period. The looters, however, when Democrats are in charge, cops are just cops. When Republicans are in charge, they're Nazi troopers. They're SS troopers. Economy. When Democrats win, bills, legislation, and hopefully soon to come regulations will be taking place should the Democrats win. If we vote everybody that's backing up the current administration, the same current administration that's done legislation with the Inflation Reduction Act, the same administration that's coming up with these bills like the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, the same Democratic administration, if we get everybody backing up the very same current administration, then comes regulations, as opposed to just spending time with the reserves while constantly telling the people, the companies, to stop price gouging, and the companies saying, no, you're going to let us drill wherever we want, offshore, wildlife preserves, Native American grave sites. You're going to let us frack, and you're going to buy all our oil, and you're going to do this off of the tax-paying dollars, while we don't pay a damn thing, or you're getting no deal. Which technically that's not a deal anyway. So why should the current administration go along with that? That's not a deal. That's a hustle. That's a robbery. That's just plain stupid. We don't want a current administration that's going to deregulate and bow down to that crap. We want a current administration that's going to do something, which means that ugly word, regulation. Regulations again. But we can't get those regulations started if we don't vote for anybody and everybody that's going to back up this current administration. That's how important these midterms are. With Republicans, it's just plain deregulation and all the crap that goes with it. Like I said, fracking. drilling off of our shores. We all saw what happened when that spill took place in the Gulf. It destroyed states worth of beaches and land, business, wildlife, business off of wildlife, aquatic and aerial, because it's not just fish that's in the Gulf. Tourism. I mean, it costed almost $1 trillion of damage through deregulation, with people drilling with the oil, not people, but oil companies drilling in the Gulf. Okay? Non-regulated. Not regulated. And that's what happened. Same thing with the land up here. Land, lakes, pipelines. Every pipeline is broken since it's ever been created. Since it's ever been started. Every pipeline. Causing bunch of damages to our land, to our waters, water contamination, land destroyed. It's just downright stupid to taking a step back and looking at something that was a party labeled itself the Republic of the United States of America, to see something that from years ago was this well-functioning political party to the crap that it is now in 2020s. You know, it's just pathetic. There is no reason to vote for these guys. There is every reason, especially now, to vote for anybody and everybody that's backing up the current administration, that's regulating these douchebags, that's causing all these problems. Every spill, every crack in the oil pipeline, every leak, every break, every spill is hundreds of thousands of barrels per day lost. Every spill. 600,000 barrels per day just off of the Keystone Pipeline, for example. Every 600,000 barrels, we have lost 100,000. We've lost 100 to 300,000 each year that it's been up and running. And it hasn't been running very long. I think since 2011, I think. Or 13. I can't remember. But yeah, that's a lot of oil and fuel that, one, is never cleaned up, two, is never actually discovered by the companies themselves. The pipeline only has 37 employees. The pipeline starts in Alaska, people. It comes through the Dakotas, through Canada, to Trans-Canada, into the Dakotas, branches off to Illinois, and then goes straight down to my state, the Lone Star State, Texas. Okay? 37 employees to cover the pipeline that starts in Alaska, branches out to Illinois, and finishes in Texas. That's it. These spills are not discovered by their own employees. No emergency contacts, whatever, we got a spill at such and such, whatever. And this rescue operation of saving the oil and protecting the pipeline, repatching up the pipeline and rebuilding it and restructuring it. None of that is done. None of it. And the cleanup has always come off of the taxpayers' dollars. It's never came off of them. They're not spending any money that they've invested in. They're not spending any money that they've profited. $40 billion just in this quarter of this year alone. 0 repairs. 0 reopened refineries. 0 brand new refineries. It only costs about $100 to $200 million for, a refinery to be built. They made $40 billion in one quarter of this year. It only costs tens of millions of dollars to reopen a refinery. And that's including bringing back all the jobs that they cut off. 300,000 jobs. 300,000 jobs per year. With an annual, with an annual drop-off of employees, I forgot what it's called, with an annual drop off of employees of about 20,000 to 30,000 employees out of the year. Okay, so that's still plenty left over working in that industry. Since that pandemic, when they shut down the refineries and just plain stopped drilling for new sites, that 300 a year with an occasional drop, minus the 20 to 30,000 out of the entire year employee number, all of that dropped. Jobs incredibly lost. They still made $40 billion just out of the first quarter. $60 billion when they started price gouging. $50 billion plus out of the third quarter year. None of that money that was profited, none of it, has been reinvested in these refineries that are still shut down, that are still not producing anything, and any of them that still are operational are responsible for stuff like in California, where an additive to reduce air pollution has to be played. They're not delivering unless they get to charge everybody in California $8 a gallon. All this while the current administration is forced to pull out oil out of its reserves, out of its country's reserves, in order to keep from inflation from taking place at the gas pump. Don't get me wrong, it's still high. It's up at $3 and $3 and change plus here in Texas. But in some places like California, it's all the way skyrocketed to $8. Deregulation, that's all you're going to see out of the Republicans who are going to still price gouge. If you honestly think if we put a Republican in charge and he allows the oil and fuel companies to deregulate, that all of a sudden the gas is going to drop back to $2.30 like the way it was back before the pandemic. I've got Ocean 5 property I could sell you cheap. Just give me your bank account number. Just text me your bank account and, I'll sell you miles and miles. I'll sell you thousands of miles of Ocean 5 property in Arizona. If you honestly think that if we put the Repugs back into charge who cater to the oil and fuel industries, that we're going to have a reduction of prices out of the gas just simply because they're deregulated now. No. No, you're a sucker. You're a sucker if you actually believe that. You vote everybody that's backing up the current administration right now. We vote them in this midterm election. We're going to see these bills and legislations and stuff. Cause everything from that investigation on the price gouges, the gasoline price gouging investigation, that will actually be followed through. Obviously, Biden had every reason to have an investigation on these prices to being gouged. Because he's the one that's keeping them down while pulling out reserves. So what's the oil companies in the industry? What's their excuse? They don't have a reason. If a president who has no say-so over the oil and fuel industry can keep our prices down by releasing reserves, gas tax holidays, and all this other crap, the oil and fuel industry that's knee deep in it has no excuse to raise gas prices. They got no excuse to say the taxpayers need to pay for our reopening of refineries. The refineries are already built. All they need to do is reopen. It costs about $10 to $20 million for the thing to go fully operational again. And out of $40 billion, that's chump change. Out of $40 billion, they can't put 10 million. Let's say it costs $1 billion for one refinery to be reopened. A refinery that's already built. That was just shut down. It wasn't damaged. It wasn't broken. It wasn't destroyed. It wasn't damaged like the way it was in the Gulf drill site. Where something went wrong and this unstoppable leak took place. There's nothing like that has been done in the refineries. They were just simply closed and everybody was sent away. I seriously doubt it costs $1 billion to reopen it and ask everybody to come back to work. It's not going to cost $1 billion. But yeah, bills, legislation, and hopefully upcoming, soon to come, regulations. If we vote everybody to back up the current administration, global peace talks and backing up these countries that are being attacked by communist countries. They're making up excuse after excuse after excuse. They're coming up with wild theories. They're making all these accusations, and the proof, especially nowadays where everything is recorded, everything is surveillanced, everything is done from country's surveillance, military surveillance, all the way down to somebody with a phone is recording the actual truth of the matters. That it's not these witchcraft, these conjured up whatevers, boogeymen in the name of the USA that's launching secret weaponry, that's doing what was it, biological weaponry? I think one of these communist countries accused us of doing. You know, when you get Democrats in charge, there's backing up the people that are being assaulted, and peace talks through negotiations at NATO or whatever the global institutes are. When repugs are in charge, as we've seen through the Trump administration beforehand, you get some public ass kissing getting done by our president, United States, the president of the United States of America, smooching and kissing with these communist leaders in public and doing God knows what. It's swallowing, getting facials behind closed doors, permitting facials to be performed on them. And everybody's saying, oh, that can't be right. Shame on you. Well, no, not really. Because no cameras were permitted to see them discussing peace talks. No cameras, no film crew, not even eyewitnesses. Not even eyewitnesses that could only write stuff down because cameras might be focusing on some kind of legislative paper or whatever, some secret plan, and all this other stuff. It'll expose government proceedings and all this other crap. There wasn't even any witnesses. It was just the political leaders taking our president in the back room, and as far as we know, yeah, he and his buddies performing a bukkake on our president, the president of the United States of America. That's what happens when repugs are in charge now. What used to be tear down this wall from the goofiest person, but nevertheless, walls were broken. Walls of access powers, for crying out loud. They were knocked down. We went from that to Trump being Putin's bitch and sucking face with the North Korean leader, being nothing but a little bitch. Guys, there is no reason to vote repug, especially here in the 2020s. It is nothing like the people from the past. It is nothing like the Republican leaders from the past. A Democrat didn't have a solid leg to stand on when it came to competing against Republican. Not till Bill Clinton, because of Bush Sr. And it's come down to it right now here in the midterms. Guys, we really need to vote for everybody that's going to back up the current administration. Why? Because peace talks can actually take place amongst agreements with other countries. And at the same time, backup can go for the attacked countries. And not even losing our own soldiers' lives, Not even by way of putting our own troops on the ground, as the way we are backing up Ukraine, and the way we're backing up our current allies in the Asian waters, Japan, South Korea, even certain parts of the Philippines. Now, particularly it's around just the trading areas, the waters of trade. That's really where we're putting our Navy at. But nevertheless, it's backup. It's backup. I mean, you got tilapia that's on the market. It's one of the best-selling fish that we got. It's all the way down from restaurants all the way down to market freezer section. Okay, that tilapia comes out of the Philippines, which is under constant confrontations with the Chinese Communist Party Navy, who's disguising themselves as fellow fisher boats. But it isn't until they come within firing range that they pull out their guns and actually start shooting at Philippine fishermen. Okay, it's I don't remember how much. It's $100 million a year business, and I think it's one of the global ones. It might be more. I can't remember. I read so much and I forget a lot too. I'm sorry. It might be even more than that. And it's a business. It's an islands. It's a group of islands that the globe profits off of. Because of that fish that's done in trade. Same thing with Taiwan. It's $1 billion a year island for all of the world to profit of. As was Hong Kong. Hong Kong used to be $1 billion too, every year for the entire world to profit off of. CCP took it over, and now it's just this worthless piece of land. It's this worthless island filled with oppressed Hong Kong people. They're oppressed now. You want to talk global issues? We can acknowledge all of this stuff if we keep backing up the current administration. If we vote for the Republicans, it's back to the ignorance and, worst of all, our own political leaders sucking face with the communist parties. It's just that simple. The Republican Party here in the 2020s is absolutely nothing like the Republican Party, the strong Republican Party of the 80s, the strong Republican Party of the 60s and 50s, the strong Republican Party of the 1940s. They are nothing like those days here in the 2020s. Especially on global issues. And that's just sad. Guys, I can't tell you who to vote for. That's against the law. And I can't ask of you, hey, who are you going to vote for? That's also against the law. But the law does allow me to say who I'm voting for. And who I'm voting for is anybody and everybody that's backing up the current administration. Especially on these issues. And finally, once again, the social issues, civic, economic, and social rights will be maintained when the Democrats are in charge. Abortion, the upcoming affirmative action policy, gay rights and civil rights, social rights, education rights, all of that good stuff. Regardless as to whether or not CRT is the best thing around. It's a good theory. But it does need reform, and I'll explain that at another. I'll say it right now. It needs to not just focus on white on black crimes. It needs to focus white on white crimes that are disguised as corporate greed or North versus South or English versus Irish, which technically is a white on white crime. That it doesn't get any more white on white crime than that. The Irish versus the English. But nevertheless, it needs to focus on the fact that it's all derived off of hate and that it does nothing but fuel hate, and it does say that. Technically it does say that, but it's just not as wide span as I was kind of hoping for it to be. It needs to be a little bit more broader, but it can't be eliminated, removed, plain and simple. It can't be removed. This is the only person that did it. This is the only person that actually covered it. Come on, dudes. With Democrats in charge, we can get to it. We can reform it. We can maintain civil rights and all that stuff in education. With Republicans, it's restricted or budget reduced, like the education system, if not completely removed, just like critical race theory. It's time to just put aside this political party that had a great run back in the 1900s. But here in the 2020s, is this just plain dismal waste of life political party that's doing nothing but being this social douche, non-responsible global, worthless waste of life, global issues and peaceful relations with other countries. This horribly economically run deregulation and all the crap that comes with it, and turning cops into Nazi SS troops, creating criminals out of citizens through stop and frisk party. It's just time to ignore them and start to switch to the party that's actually doing the work to keeping, restoring, recovering, and maintaining the United States of America. It's just that time. That's how important these midterms are. We really, really got to vote for, well, I'm really going to vote for, I did actually, I did the second day of early voting. I voted for anybody and everybody that backed up the current administration. Why? Because the current administration, despite the fact that it's a Democratic Party administration, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. This current administration is the one that's doing everything that it can to take handle of every issue that it needs to be handled. And without any damn backup. His back is against the wall. So is his administration. He's getting zero cooperation from the opposing sides of the political party, all the way down to the corporate and companies, all the way down to people of hate, all the way down to the fools that follow and do these stupid stunts, horrible attacks on defenseless people, defenseless 74-year-olds, husbands of a politician. It's just downright dumb. And it's a complete waste of time to back up anybody and everybody that's against the current administration. And that's the reason why I voted Democrat straight through, because I've noticed every single one of them is pro-democracy. And not just saying it either. And you could tell because their opponents will say the Democratic politician says he's pro-democracy, but he's into drugs. The Democratic Party says, oh, he's a pro-everything. He's into baby killings. He's into child pornography. The Democratic leader says that he wants to do good for America. He wants to send us all to hell. That is 100% proof of an indication that this Democratic person was the person to vote for here in Texas. Because you look at what they're doing, they started out as sort of like this secretary and moved their way to an administrator and comptroller, and this stuff. All these lame brain, not lame brain, because you have to have a big brain to run these certain titles. You have to have the big brains. You just don't have a big mouth, and you don't use your mouth and all this stuff. You could clearly see these guys are not a threat. They're nothing like the demonized person that, the opponent is. The opponent is declaring. But yeah, it was a huge indication. Who were these Republicans demonizing? Whoever it was that was demonizing the ones is the ones that I needed to vote for. Whoever it was being demonized was the ones that I needed to vote for. Hold on. Sorry for the stoppage there. I thought I saw a dog get hit by a car and then the car sped off. False alarm. False alarm. The car dodged it. And the puppy, I think the puppy dodged. I think more the puppy dodged the car. But yeah, it's just time to vote for everybody and everybody that's going to. Excuse me. Sorry. Hope the audio wasn't too bad. For some reason, the audio wasn't kicked in. I thought I saw a car hit a dog, and it turns out the dog, dodged the car. So that's good. That's the reason why I had to pause this. But yeah, it's just time. It's just time to vote for. It's time to let go of things of the past, and it's time to vote for anybody and everybody that backs up the current administration, because the current administration is really the only one that's doing anything. The political party that's doing anything, and that's that. I really do apologize for taking up this entire time, a full hour. I wanted it to be short, sweet, and simple. I wrote down a script and everything, but as I was reading it and trying to make it just short and sweet and simple, all of this stuff just kept coming back up, and I still find it necessary, unless you guys already know it. If you could text me or email me or whatever, just let me know where you guys stand, because I'm getting a lot of people that say good job, but that's about it. And then I'm getting the rest that are saying, what's wrong with this country and all this other crap. And that's, I'm just calling them stupid. What's wrong with Texas right now and all this other garbage. And it's just like, that's not a debate. That's not info. I leave in my email for shared information. If you want to say good job, by all means do so. But just do it in the comment section below. What I like to read when I open up my email is some information, and when it comes to that, I'm actually getting conspiracy still. I mean, I'm still getting people who think Pizzagate was a real thing, but nevertheless, yeah, if you could start sending some comments in the links below, or rather in the comment section below, and information, even if you're writing an essay, even if it's in the form of a book, that's fine. I'll read it. That's not a problem. Speaking of which, I launched an ebook off of equid.com. It's under Saytown Read online store. I'm hoping to put more books on there, but for right now I just wrote one. It's called The Mexica Tale. It's an Aztec warrior story, and I can't think of a better month than the appreciation of America's heritage, indigenous peoples heritage month, which is here in November. I can't think of a better time to promote it. So hopefully you guys enjoy. It's only $7. It's a PDF. So get your iPad or iPod that can accept PDFs. And that's it. So y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. If you haven't voted for anybody yet, we're in the midterm elections. We still got 2 days down here in Texas to do, 3 if you count today. And then we got November 8th. I'm voting for anybody and everybody that's backing up our current administration. I hope you guys do also. And y'all take care. Take it easy. Have a good one. Stay safe out there. Be cool. We'll see you next time. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.